Okay, so a lot of people are going to be surprised that they're not going to get the right answer to this basic math problem. And that's because a lot of people think they understand basic math better than they actually do. But let's see how you do with this problem. And of course, the problem is this. Let me go ahead and read it. It's 6 times parentheses 20 minus 18 divided by 2 times 3 end parentheses. What is the answer? Again, the only rule here is no calculator. All right, so if you can figure this out, go ahead and put your answer into the comment section. I'll show you the correct answer in just 1 second. Then, of course, I want to walk through exactly how to solve this problem without using a calculator. And I'm going to highlight probably the most common mistake that people are going to make when it comes to this problem. But before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John, and I have been teaching middle and high school math for decades. And if you need assistance in learning math, check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video helps you out, or if you just enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. Okay, so 6 times, this means multiplication right here. That's a little bit of a hint for those of you out there that weren't sure what this means. So 6 times parentheses 20 minus 18 divided by 2 times 3 and parentheses. What does this all equal to? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the answer. Well, the two most common answers here. Now, if you don't have one of these answers, well, unfortunately, you did this problem wrong, but probably most people came up with one or two of these answers, okay, or one of these answers. All right, so if you see your answer, well, which one did you pick? Well, if you selected negative 42, well, indeed, that is actually the correct answer. So 102 is incorrect, so negative 42 is correct. So that is fantastic. And if you have 102 as your answer, don't get discouraged because with one little correction, you'll be able to get this problem right. But anyways, for those of you that got a negative 42, well, let me go ahead and give you an A plus, a 100%, and multiple stars. So you can tell your friends and family that indeed you are a certified professional expert in the area of basic mathematics, which includes things like the order of operations, positive, negative numbers, fractions, decimals, etc., etc. But let's go ahead and get into the solution right now. And I'm assuming most of you out there have some basic math skills, but you might just be missing one or two of the components to do this problem correctly. But the first thing we need to consider is the following. Okay, you can see here I said, all right, I have written down what is first. So what am I referring to? Well, if we take a look at what's going on in this problem, we have different mathematical operations. Matter of fact, right here we have multiplication, then right here we have subtraction, then over here we have division, and over here we have multiplication again, and then we even have parentheses going on. So what do we do first? Because order is certainly going to make a difference in terms of the values we get by doing this problem, right? So maybe I could be like, well, maybe I'll do the subtraction first, then I'll do the multiplication first, then I'll do division last, or maybe I'll do division first, then multiplication, subtraction. So again, we need to know the correct order here, or we're going to do the problem wrong. So this concept in math is called the order of operations because these things right here are what we call mathematical operators. So what is the correct order of operations? Well, let me introduce you to a acronym that most of you probably already know. It's called PEMDAS. And if you never heard of this, well, this is super important. And some of you may have learned this, but you may have used a different acronym. But this is an extremely important concept to you in all levels of math. Let me go ahead and tell you what this means real quick. So this, again, is an acronym. These letters stand for something, but effectively it's a checklist that we're going to follow from left to right. So let's go ahead and define what these letters stand for. So P stands for parentheses. Now, technically, it's what we call grouping symbols in math. So anything that's grouped together by parentheses or brackets like this, or even squiggly brackets like that, we're going to do first. Okay, now obviously, we have some parentheses in our problem, and this first component here, grouping symbols, or P, if you have multiple parentheses in your problem, you always work from the inside out. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to look for, and obviously we have some parentheses. Now, E stands for powers. Now, you might be saying, "Hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, what are you talking about powers? Why is it not another P here?" Well, that would be kind of confusing, right? So E is what we call an exponent. So if we have something like 2 to the third power, this little number up here is referred to as the exponent part of the power. 2 is the base. The entire thing is a power. So 2 to the third power. Again, the 3 is the exponent. So that's what that stands for. But you can just think of this as powers. Okay, so we're kind of moving from left to right, and we're going to do whatever we have in our problem. If we don't have powers, for example, we'll just skip that and we'll continue on. All right, so now I'm going to come to the most confused part of the order of operations, and it's this part right here. So I said that we have a checklist moved from left to right, and that is correct. But a lot of people confuse this, and I don't think it's, quite frankly, taught well enough in textbooks and school. Well, it's not emphasized enough in my experience. But a lot of people say, okay, well, the next thing is multiplication, right? So that makes sense to me, but that is not true. Okay, you might be confused. Well, are we going from left to right? We got to do multiplication, do all the multiplication, and then move on to all the division. A and S, this stands for addition and subtraction. That is logical. That is kind of using common sense, but that's not the way this works. So let's go ahead and actually understand the proper way to interpret PEMDAS. So the next thing we're going to do is multiplication or division. This is a group. Whatever we see first from left to right. So if I see multiplication, then division first from left to right, this is the way I'm going to do it. If I see division and then multiplication from left to right, I'm going to do it this way. Okay. Again, this is one of the most confused concepts, and if you got the wrong answer, it's likely you made the error right here. Okay, so again, by just correcting this one little misunderstanding about the order of operations, you'll be successful and you'll be getting happy faces on these problems as well. And then A and S stand for addition and subtraction, and it works the same way as multiplication and division. We're going to do whatever we see first from left to right. Okay, so this is the first thing we really need to understand. There is another component to this problem to get the right answer, but I'll address that in a second. So let's go ahead and continue down here, and let's take a look at our problem. Okay, so first things first, we're like, all right, well, let's scan through here. We're thinking about PEMDAS. Now, you don't have to write it out, but for those of you that are maybe are learning this stuff for the first time, or if you're like, well, let me just kind of write this out, that's perfectly fine. So you could just think about this. So we're like, okay, is there any parentheses? Obviously there is. So that means do everything inside parentheses first. Okay, so effectively, we're going to basically get this down to one number, and then we'll think about multiplying by 6 once we're done. So we're just concentrating our efforts inside of the parentheses. Now, we're going to go to our E. Is there any powers inside of here? No. Is there any multiplication or division? Yes. Okay, great. What comes first from left to right? Well, it's not multiplication, it is the division. Okay, so we have to divide first. Now, of course, this is kind of a sneaky problem because if I multiply, the numbers work out, pretty nicely for both steps here, right? But we got to do the correct step. So is it multiplication? No, it's whatever we see again from left to right, and that is division. So we're going to go ahead and take 18 and divide it by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. All right, so that is our first step. And again, this is probably where most people made their mistakes. So now we're going to continue on and continue to work inside of the parentheses until we get this down to one number. So we have 20 minus 9 times 3. Now just looking at PEMDAS here, or the order of operations, we have subtraction and multiplication. So it's pretty clear who the winner is going to be. We're going to have to do that multiplication next. So let's go ahead and handle that right now. So we have 20 minus 9 times 3. We'll do multiplication because that trumps the subtraction. So 9 times 3 is going to be 27. All right, so we have 6 times 20 minus 27. Now, some of you might be confused about this minus 9, you might be thinking about, oh, is this a negative 9? You could have said, oh, this is plus a negative 9. That's perfectly fine. But I'm just going to go ahead and just do this in this manner. We'll talk about positive and negative numbers in just 1 second. But I want to highlight something here. When I'm doing the problem, you notice that I'm writing kind of one step at a time so I can see what's going on. This is the way you should be doing this problem as well. Again, without the aid of a calculator. Okay, so we're down to 6 times 20 minus 7 and parentheses. So we're not done with parentheses, right? So again, this is multiplication. So 6 times parentheses, 20 minus 7. So we have to figure out what 20, I'm sorry, I'm saying 20 minus 7, 20 minus 27. I apologize for that. Some of you might say, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, wake up, have a cup of coffee. Be on track here. All right, so anyways, 20 minus 27. All right, that's a little bit better. So what is this equal to? Well, if he said 7, that is incorrect. This is actually equal to a negative 7. So 20 minus 27 is the same thing as 20 plus a negative 27. And right here is, this is, again, going to be this other concept that I was talking about where some people could have gotten this wrong is they don't understand positive and negative numbers well enough, okay? All right, so I'm not going to get into this full lesson on how to add and subtract positive and negative numbers, but I will kind of explain why this answer is negative 7. So 20 minus 27, so this is going to be 20. You can think of this as the same thing as 20 plus a negative 27. So when you're subtracting numbers, you could do something called plus negative in math. It makes things much easier. So in other words, let's say I have 6 minus 8. All right, now if you look at this problem real quick, you're like, oh, 6 minus 8, that's 2. No, that's not right. So what we want to do is change subtraction operators to addition. But the way we can do that, we can certainly turn this into an addition problem, but the negative sign, we have a negative sign here. The 8 is actually negative, but it's kind of hard to see this way. So it's a good practice to change subtraction problems into plus negative situations. So 6 minus 8 is the same thing as 6 plus a negative 8, right? That's the same problem as 6 minus 8. So now we could see, clearly that we're dealing with a positive number and a negative number. And the best way I kind of like to explain this is this concept of money. So negative money is like debt. It's like you owe someone. Positive money is like you have money. So let's suppose you have $6 in your pocket. You're very happy about that situation. But then your best friend comes up and say, hey, give me back that $8 I lent you the other day. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So you'll give them your $6 and you still owe them $2. Okay, so when it comes to adding and subtracting positive, negative numbers, the concept of money is a really good model. Let's just take another example real quick of that. So let's say you have negative 3. Let me write this a little bit better here. Negative 3 plus negative 5. Now, from a financial standpoint, how can we interpret this? Well, this would be like $3 in debt. Like, oh, I owe this person $3 and I owe this person $5. So what is your total financial situation? Well, you're in debt negative $8, right? So negative plus a negative is another negative. Okay, so don't confuse the rules for positive negative numbers for adding and subtracting with multiplying, dividing. That's a completely different situation. But this stuff is not difficult to learn. Matter of fact, I'll give you a suggestion on how you can learn all of this. But let's finish up this problem. So 20 minus 27 is negative 7. So now finally we're down to one last step, which is multiplication. So we have a positive number times a negative number that is going to be negative. So 6 times negative 7 is negative 42, which indeed is the correct answer. Now, if you're kind of wondering, like, well, is this guy right? Well, go ahead and put, plug this stuff all into a nice scientific calculator or any kind of calculator that you can kind of see it. If you are working with a basic scientific calculator like a TI-34, that's a great kind of starting calculator so you can practice the order of operations. You can plug in the operators and see the problem pretty much as I kind of written it out in this video. And you can obviously practice these concepts on your own. Okay, so let's go ahead and see the mistake that most people probably made to get this problem wrong. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you if you can quickly subscribe to my channel. I definitely need your support. I love teaching math, but guess what? If I don't have an audience to teach to, well, then I'm just kind of speaking to myself. And right now, the news is not good in terms of math proficiency. And this is kind of globally what's going on. It's not good. Math proficiency continues to go down. And it's kind of like, doesn't make sense because technology and access to math instruction is going up. So, what is the problem? Well, I'll tell you my little 2 cents here, then we'll finish up this video. My interpretation, of course, I've been doing this for a long, long, long time, is this. With technology, just like with a calculator, oftentimes, but even with our cell phone, it makes things so easy. Like you just plug things in or get our answers very quick. But here's the deal, math is a skill. Okay, matter of fact, it is a set of skills and a lot of skills. So basic mathematics requires a lot of, things to master. Obviously, if you're going to learn algebra, geometry, pre-calculus, trigonometry, doesn't make a difference. It's a lot of skills to learn. So any skill that you want to learn is going to require work, effort, and practice. So you just can't, click a switch, on a computer or hit a button or whatever you want to say, and instantaneously you're going to have these skills. So you're going to have to work hard at learning, even if you have access to a lot of great technology. But the other component that you need is great math instruction. You got to be willing to immerse yourself with high quality, crystal clear, comprehensive math instruction. Then you got to practice, practice, practice. So basically, there are no shortcuts. So if you don't have a math teacher, or if you don't have access to great math instruction, well, then I would love nothing more to be your math teacher. So go ahead and go ahead and hit, I can't even speak, that subscribe button. It's like I've gained a new student. And if you're going to do that, hit that notification bell as well. Thanks for giving me a little bit of time to tell you why I do what I do. So now let's go to take a look at this problem and let's talk about where most people probably went wrong. Okay, so some people are like, yes, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I know I got to use the PEMDAS here to figure this out. So they're like, all right, parentheses, I got parentheses, good. E, are there any powers? Nope, there's no powers. Is there any multiplication? Yes, indeed, right here. Okay, so most people are going to go strictly from left to right. And again, a very common mistake. So don't feel bad. Obviously this video is intended to, clear this up. Now, if you didn't understand the positive, negative numbers, that's the other aspect of doing this problem right. But again, probably most people made this error right here. But let's go ahead and play this out. So if you did 2 times 3, of course, that is going to be what? Well, you would have put 6, right? So we would have 6 times 20 minus 18 divided by 6 and parentheses. So here, we're still inside parentheses. It's subtraction and division. So we can go 18 divided by 6. That would be our next step. And you see here, this problem, I designed it. And by the way, math teachers are famous for doing this. They'll design a problem where if you do the wrong step, it looks like you're doing it right. So how many times have you taken, I want to go off on a little tangent here. How many times have you taken a test? Certainly this has happened to me, and I know it's happened to a ton of you out there as well. And you're like, boy, I feel so good about this. I saw my answers on this test. Let's suppose it's a multiple choice test, or you just feel great about the test, and then you get your test results back, and you're like, you got a 70%. And you're like, what happened? Well, what happened was that a lot of times, the math problems are kind of tricking you. They're enticing you to, make a very common mistake. So you got to be very careful. And obviously, this type of problem, is designed in that manner as well. Because here I can go, 18 divided by 6 is, of course, 3. So I'm like, all right, so 6 times 20 minus 18 divided by 6 is 3. So now 6 times 20 minus 3. 20 minus 3 is 17. So I'm not even dealing with positive and negative numbers here. So this is great. So 6 times 17 is 102. Okay, so again, this is probably the most common mistake that people made, but it's easy mistake to fix now that you understand PEMDAS. All right, so let me go ahead and give you a couple quick suggestions on those of you that want to improve your basic math skills. So First of all, I have a great little mini math course. It's called my Math Foundations course. It's a three-chapter course. I cover decimals, fractions, order of operations, positive and negative numbers. That's a great starter course for those of you that want to get back in math. I'm going to leave links to all these courses in the description below. Now, if you want to take it a step further and you're not a math student, check out my Math Skills Rebuilder course. In there, I teach you basic math, but I also teach you a ton of algebra, geometry, some trigonometry, probability, and statistics. These are all self-paced courses as well. But if you happen to be a student, maybe you're an algebra student or pre-algebra student, whatever the case might be, you'll see links to those courses in the description as well. Okay, so with all that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.